All right, welcome back to Old Men, New Money. I'm Phil Larmon, and today we're kicking off a series inside Module 6 that takes everything we've already taught you: digital securities, real world assets, tokenization, compliance, utility models, equity models, and applies it directly to the two worlds I know best, which is sports and entertainment. If you've been listening to the earlier episodes in this module, you've already understand the infrastructure. You understand the rails, you understand why digital securities are not crypto, and you understand the compliance frameworks behind everything Douglas and Ali have broken down. Good, because now we're going to take all of that and lift it out of theory and out of the finance world and drop it straight into the beating heart of sports and entertainment, which is where the transformation is going to be the loudest, the fastest, and the most visible to everyday people. And to be direct, that's the part that excites me the most, because I grew up on the other side of the tracks. I grew up in the world where you watch sports because that's the one thing that gave you hope. If you've ever seen the Blind Side movie, that's pretty damn close to my upbringing. I'm just a little shorter, a little whiter, and without Hollywood smoothing out the edges. Football gave me a direction. Football gave me identity. Football gave me a way to climb out of where I started and create something new. And the thing about that is, whether you come from money or not, is this: sports are emotional. They grab you in a way nothing else does. Entertainment does the same thing. Music, movies, big moments. That's why these industries are perfect for real-world asset tokenization, because the emotion is already there. You don't have to convince anyone to care. They already do. But historically, caring didn't get you anything, and that's the core problem with the old model. Fans pay, owners profit, fans support, teams capitalize. Fans build the culture, owners capture the value. And if you're lucky, you walk away with a t-shirt, a memory, and maybe a hangover. And that's it. No share in the upside, no economic alignment, no long-term benefit, even though fans are the ones who make the leagues matter in the first place. And that's the change we're stepping into. Digital securities don't ask for permission. They force the industry to evolve. They remove the excuses. They give teams a better way to raise capital. They give fans a better way to participate. They give players a better way to secure their futures, and give creators a better way to connect with the people who believe in them. So let's lay out the foundations clearly, because before we go deeper, this part matters. Digital securities are not crypto hype. They are not JPEGs pretending to be investments. They're not speculative tokens that rely on marketing gimmicks. A digital security is simply traditional ownership: equity, revenue share, debt, whatever it is, recorded and managed on blockchain rails so that it's transparent, compliant, traceable, transferable, and accessible in pieces instead of the whole. That's it. Nothing magical, nothing vague, just a better wrapper around something that already exists. And when you apply the structure to sports entertainment, you unlock something this industry has talked about for decades, but never had the tools or legal rails to execute: fan ownership. Not symbolic ownership, not your name on a brick outside the stadium, not vote on the team bus paint color. Real world ownership, meaningful ownership, ownership that pays, ownership that appreciates, ownership that aligns incentives, ownership that turns fans from customers into stakeholders, what Douglas likes to call the consumer model. Now let's get specific, because I want this episode to be practical and grounded, not theory, not wishful thinking, actual real applications. Start with stadium. This is the elephant in the room that most fans haven't even caught onto yet, but every sport executive knows exactly what I'm talking about. Stadiums used to be single-purpose venues. Host the game, maybe host a concert, then sit empty for most of the year. That model is completely dead. It's been dead for years. Teams now build entire ecosystems around their stadiums: restaurants, hotels, residential units, office buildings, private clubs, retail, training facilities, youth sports complexes. These are not stadiums. They are city-states, economic engines. And the smartest teams are turning them into real estate portfolios that generate revenue 365 days a year, regardless of wins or losses, weather or off-season. Look at Nashville. Look at LA. Look at Vegas. Look at what Atlanta built with the Battery around Truist Park. Look at St. Louis City SC and their surrounding investments. Look at what the Haslam family is doing with the Browns moving to Brook Park. a modern enclosed stadium that anchors a full development district. This is the future. And one thing you'll notice quickly, enclosed, temperature-controlled stadiums are becoming the default. There is such a thing as too cold, too hot, too rainy, too windy. Corporate dollars don't want to sit outside in negative temperatures or 105 degrees with heat indexes. You have people spending thousands of dollars on tickets, suits, dresses, heels, mainly wanting to enjoy the experience, network, take clients, and celebrate. An enclosed stadium gives you consistency, stability, flexibility, and revenue opportunities year-round. It turns a venue into a machine. And real estate machines can be tokenized. If you can tokenize a Manhattan skyscraper, you can tokenize a stadium district. If you can fractionalize a hotel or an apartment complex, you can fractionalize a team's real estate portfolio. Fans will eventually own pieces of these districts. It's simply a matter of when the SEC guidance catches up to the appetite. Stadium districts are the most natural real-world asset plays in sports. They are predictable, they're stable, they're easy to understand, and fans love being close to the action. Now let's shift to something you've probably seen in headlines, fan tokens. The biggest name people recognize is Socios. Let me speak honestly but responsibly here. Socios prove something important. Fans want deeper involvement. Fans want to vote. Fans want perks. Fans want access. Socios built a global business around that idea. But this is where you have to be clear. Fan tokens are not ownership. They're not financial securities. They do not give you equity, revenue share, or any real economic participation. They are utility tokens, and because they operate at massive scale, they ended up on the radar of regulators in multiple jurisdictions. Investigations, questions around advertising, questions around disclaimers, questions around what fans actually believe they were buying, that all happened. That matters, not because Socios is bad, but because it shows you exactly where the line is. It shows you that demand is real, but the model needs to be done the right way. And the right way is digital securities. If a team wants to offer real ownership, fractions of equity, revenue rights, royalty rights, they need to do it through a regulated digital securities, not utility tokens. That is where companies like DigiShares comes in. They build the rails, they're the infrastructure, they provide the compliance, the cap tables, the KYC, the investor onboarding, the transfer restrictions, the secondary exchange connectivity. They build the foundation so teams don't blow themselves up legally. And as I step into a new role helping them expand globally, this is exactly the conversation we're having with major organizations. Do it right or don't do it at all. Now, let me tell you about something I discovered when I was at iHeartMedia. A company called LiveLike, who I actually wanted to invest in, they built an engagement layer for live sports that was ahead of its time. Real-time polls, predictions, trivia, watch together tools, community interactions, right inside the broadcast. Before the world understood what interactive sports really meant, they were already building it. The reason I bring them up is simple. LiveLike represents participation. They represent fans leaning in. They represent the behavioral shift that makes fan ownership inevitable. Because here's the point. A fan who interacts is a fan who invests. A fan who invests is a fan who stays. Participation drives ownership. Ownership drives loyalty. Loyalty drives revenue. Revenue drives valuation. It's the same flywheel Douglas and Ali talk about in every industry. But in sports, it's harder because the emotional attachment is already built in. So let's paint a picture. Let's go into the real world. Let's imagine what it looks like from a fan's perspective, because that's where this becomes undeniably powerful. Imagine you're a fan of a team. Let's say an MLS team, because they tend to innovate first. You buy a tokenized security that gives you fractional revenue share in the team's training facility. You don't own the team. You're not voting on the starting lineup, but you own 0.0003% of a real estate asset linked to the team you've loved since childhood. That token costs you $150. And because it's a regulated security, it pays you your share of rental income every quarter. The facility hosts tournaments, events, practices, youth programs. Meanwhile, your token appreciates because the district is growing. And because you're a token holder, you also get access to a gated chat community, occasional team AMAs, and maybe 1 or 2 special events per year. But the core thing is you have ownership. Now multiply that. Imagine fans owning fractions of a parking structure or a team hotel or a retail space, or a broadcast studio, or even a youth academy. Imagine fans being part of the financial engine that they've supported emotionally for decades. That is where this is going. That is not only possible, it's obvious. Let me take this deeper by connecting it to something personal. When I played, I saw how fragile a sports career actually is. One injury and the whole thing can disappear. I've watched teammates go through 6 figures or 7 figures to zero in less than 5 years. 78% of NFL players go broke after retirement. Same story across other sports. Short earning windows, long lifespans, and no real plan beyond the hope that your agent invests well. It's broken. Since then, I've spent years helping athletes transition, creating athlete game plan, building the 5P system, which is plan, prepare, position, promote, perform. I've seen the inside of the journey. And what tokenization offers athletes is structure. It offers them fractional access to clean investments. It offers them participation in the same assets that owners benefit from, but in pieces they can afford. It lets a rookie put 10 grand into a tokenized stadium district instead of blowing it on a depreciating car. It lets retired players earn yield on an asset connected to the sport they help build. This model doesn't just help fans, it helps athletes. It helps give them a long-term financial runway. It gives them an ecosystem to participate in, contribute to, and benefit from. And frankly, it could save careers, marriages, retirements, and futures. Now I want to shift into entertainment because the same logic applies. Music, film, content, these industries have always extracted value at the top and pushed the risk to the bottom. Artists make pennies on streams. Independent filmmakers spend years trying to recoup. Creators lose followers every time an algorithm changes. Tokenization realigns the entire model. A fan could own part of an album. A fan could own part of a documentary. A fan could own part of a concert tour. A fan could own fractional revenue in a creator's content library. And with compliant digital securities, that ownership is legal and real. And here's the thing. Fans already want to support creators. They already buy the merch, pay for VIP packages, subscribe to Patreon. They're already spending, but tokenization gives them something back. Not a perk, but value. Value they can hold or trade or build on. Now let's zoom out and talk about the industry itself. Sports entertainment runs on 4 things: emotion, access, participation, and story. Digital securities don't fight that. They actually amplify it. They give it structure. They take the value that's been locked behind corporate doors for decades, and it puts it in a fan-friendly format they can actually touch. This is where we bring it all home. Picture a future game day. You walk into an enclosed stadium in a district partly owned by fans, partly owned by athletes, partly owned by the team. Your ticket's an NFT with real utility. Your seat comes with dynamic pricing. You open the team app, powered by a live-like style engagement engine, and you vote on a halftime experience. You answer trivia questions and earn micro rewards. You watch a highlight and mint it. You walk into a restaurant that you own a fractional piece of. Maybe you own part of the team's media studio. Maybe you own part of the retail shop. You're participating everywhere you go. And instead of getting nickel and dimed as a customer, you're building a micro portfolio as a stakeholder. This isn't fantasy. All of this is technologically possible today. The only barrier is regulatory clarity and organizational courage. And that's why the teams that go first will win. They'll build a fan base that will never leave. They'll build athletes who stay connected long after retirement. They'll build creators who want to be part of this ecosystem. And they'll build valuations that outpace the rest of the league. So I'll say this plainly. Sports entertainment are the most powerful emotional distribution engines on the planet. And when you combine that with digital securities, you get the most powerful real-world asset engine in the world. This is the future of fan ownership. And this is the future of leagues, teams, players, creators, fans, and families. The old model is done. The new model rewards participation, builds loyalty, and creates alignment. All right, next episode, we're going deeper into the mechanics. If today was the why, episode 22 is the how. We'll walk through tokenizing tickets, fan access systems, compliant equity models, media distribution tokens, loyalty to equity pipelines, and the real rails behind all of it. This is Old Men, New Money. I'm Phil Larmon, and fan ownership is coming.